Heavenly as it is terrifying, the city in the sky is the religious background of the whole The Legend of Zelda series. Located above Hyrule and proudly flying in the heavens, this place was once thriving of a large but strange civilization. Long ago, when Hyrule was nothing but a small idea of a human folk hanging in the clouds, these same people decided to live on the surface, another location that they had been before. Goddess Hylia, the holy guardian of the Hylians, had sent them into the sky to protect them from extinction, but after the dark events of demise was over, slain by the hero of the sky that lived on this island that was sent into the sky, these young folk went back to the surface with their loft wings, giant birds capable of holding these folk on their backs. This was the beginning of our Hyrule that we know of today. But, as time went on, some stayed on this island in the sky called Skyloft, and so two different civilizations of folk began to grow. Hyrule and Skyloft, having a long period of peace, was both growing with and away from each other. These two tribes managed to communicate for a while, and this started a new tribe that evolved from the Skyloftians, called the Wind Tribe. Speech began to evolve slowly, but it was not evolved in such a way that it was written in riddles. Instead, the Wind Tribe built a multitude of structures on the surface, or shall we say Hyrule, and the Hylians built structures for the Wind Tribe, to trade, to learn from each other, to keep connected, to stay true to their past. Hyrule became, because of this, larger and larger, and more people settled in the different areas of the kingdom. The Minish Tribe, a small folk living in the forest, learned about the Hylians, and these two eventually became friends. Once every 100 years, these beings would come from a different unknown realm to help out the Hylians with their troubles within the structure, the Castle of Hyrule. A group of Hylians, however, learned the secrets of the wind eventually, and they learned so much of the wind that they found it time to settle themselves back into the sky. They lived in the ruins of Wind, their home, before abandoning this place. This led to a total new civilization within the sky called the Wind Tribe that I mentioned previously. These tribes eventually learned to live with each other. However, one thing stands out: their red hair. A combination of Hylian and eventually Gerudo. All these civilizations seemed to be at peace with one another. As Hyrule went through a multitude of wars and sometimes even went through the apocalypse, the Wind Tribe decided that it was best to stay within the sky, as that was what was the most safest place to be. Within the three timelines of The Legend of Zelda, they stayed there, watching over Hyrule, but it was the child timeline that went through an incredible change and evolution of the Wind Tribe. As the Wind Tribe stayed close to their clouds, they slowly merged with the elements there, causing their forms to slowly evolve into a very strange bird-like form. Their bodies, mixing with the wind, gave them feathers and magical powers beyond the comprehension of any human being. Slowly but surely, these creatures had abilities beyond belief. Their powers gave them the need to build better structures, these shapes having the sizes and forms of eggs as they are looking like birds themselves, really giving into a feel of ancient feathered beings. As Hyrule went through a new golden age of peace, long after the events of the Minish Cap, the Hylians started to overcome their own technological prowess. They built their own large empire, stretching miles from one another, with factions like the Zora tribe, the Gerudo tribe, and the Kokiri within the woods. After the empire was made, one particular sage arrived to continue building the world together. His name was Rauru. As Rauru was the sage of time, he knew about things coming up far away into the future, knowing things most people did not. He most likely did not see all the timelines happening, but one thing clearly showed he knew about the Hero of Time. Except, this hero was too young to defeat the upcoming evil. By this method, Rauru had to seek help in case things went south, or should I say, upwards, into the sky. By this scenario, Rauru met these strange beings in the sky and created a holy relationship between them. This started an ancient bond between these races. These creatures, calling themselves the Oocca, seen by the civilians as the closest creatures to the heavens, the Hylians adoring and praising them, passing their knowledge to one another, to learn about better survival. It was around this time that the Hylians and the Oocca once visited each other, worshipping each other's existence. The Oocca with their magical abilities, and the Hylians with their technological advancement through iron, steel and other metals, gave rise to a much bigger empire. The noble family of Hyrule, now appreciating the holy creatures of the sky, not knowing that they used to be people themselves at one point, tried to learn the holy language. Statues of owls and other birds gave rise into the lands of Hyrule as appreciation of them. But the royal family knew about something else as well, an ancient darkness that once upon a time tried to conquer the Triforce, the sacred powers, for themselves. As Rauru, the sage protector of light and time, knew that Link was too young to defeat Ganondorf, and the Temple of Time was already built at this time of day, Rauru came with a plan to build a second Temple of Time somewhere else. This is why it seems that there are multiple Temple of Times throughout the series, as the timelines caused this to happen. The Oocca, Rauru and the royal family of Hyrule began building this second temple and hid it far away into the forest in case anybody else would be able to find it. Obviously, legends and tales do not miss the Hylians, and word spread very fast in such a large empire. As the kingdom grew more throughout the ages, other things were built to get easier to the city in the sky. In their honor, cannons with the exact shape of the angelic Oocca forms were created to get people faster to the city. Claw shots, designed by the Oocca as the claw shots look like the claws of a large bird, were given to the Hylians as a means of travel and convenience. And the Holy Dominion Rod, that was the ultimate tool, had to be given to the royal family as a gift to their friendship. After the Interloper War, the Oocca and the Hylians slowly lost their skill to communicate and trade with each other, and this led to a decline to the proof of ancient angels living in the sky. Time was the ultimate killer, however, as the Hylians started to slowly forget their existence. Only the Sheikah, the once proud shadow folk and guardians of the royal family, knew about it and were the last to have ever known. But this too became a decline as the Sheikah were slowly vanishing and only one member remained hidden, that had the Sky Book of the Ancients. It is sad to say that in Twilight Princess, only two people seem to know something, Impas and Shad, with Shad being the theorizer of things, kinda like me doing the same thing. Now, I blame the decline of the city in the sky to time. The whole city is falling apart, and it is almost as if the Oocca do not really seem to care about it so much. As they can walk and fly wherever they want, it shouldn't really be a problem anyway. The Oocca in the concept art of Twilight Princess were supposed to be actual humanoid looking characters, yet they didn't get it at all. Instead, we got an inspired version of the MC Escher's painting called Another World 2. But to me, they also resemble actual living angels from other religions in real life, with the Oocca being the angels of Hyrule and the Twilight the demons of Hyrule. Also, I would like to point out how Zant's design also looks like an Oocca, with his neck being extremely long and his eyes glowing red. The eggs we see in this dungeon are also sacred symbols that we can find throughout religions, as the egg represents life. It tells about the birth of a certain thing, and that is why it's so extremely important. Notice also how Zant actually has red hair that the Wind Tribe also seem to have, which is kinda interesting as well. I also believe that the Oocca were evolved from the Wind Tribe, but the Wind Tribe are both born from the people of the Surface and Skyloft, making them some sort of hybrid people. Now that we have seen that Breath of the Wild 2 also goes back into the sky, could mean that we might see the Oocca back once again, as the timeline suggests that Breath of the Wild was after Twilight Princess. But after knowing that the Minish might have showed up at one point, and that there is a thing called the Zonai, it might not be the case here. The wind runes from the Minish Cap are clearly found in Breath of the Wild, and it seems that these same runes were once used by someone before them, as the runes have a mark on it that seems to be the same symbol that we can find in Skyward Sword, which is earlier than Minish Cap. This symbol, if interested, can be found in the Skyview Temple. So if the Ancient Columns, as that is what the area is called, was once part of the Wind Tribe's home, the ancestors of the Oocca, that possibly means that at one point in time, the Wind Tribe was a separate people living in Hyrule before they even went to the sky in the Minish Cap, which I believe was said in the game, but also that they lived there even before Hyrule was formed, spending their existence even before Minish Cap and during Skyward Sword. Another very important clue is how the child Shamay in Breath of the Wild talked about a floating kingdom, and everyone thinks that it's a Skyloft reference, but one thing that does not fit with Skyloft, but does fit with the Wind Tribe, is that only good children can see it. The Wind Tribe was said that they were able to walk over clouds, and it was believed by the Wind Tribe that it was only possible because of them having good hearts, something that kids have. Children were also able to see the Minish this way, which only satisfied my curiosity that it is the Wind Tribe we are talking about. As the Oocca lived on after Twilight Princess, the connections between the Hylians and Oocca might have come to a halt. I would even say that the Oocca might have built parts of the divine beasts, as they are divine themselves. The Sheikah had the closest connection to the Oocca, and as Breath of the Wild showed us somehow, the Sheikah returned to a much larger army or force. And I wouldn't be surprised if they kept that information from the rest of the world, like they did before. And I also believe that the Sheikah has been going through some stuff that is not really explained very well in Breath of the Wild. But once you start looking into the books and into every other information you can find on the internet, you'll notice that there's more stuff going on with the Sheikah than what's been told in Breath of the Wild. And I believe this might have been something that we will see in Breath of the Wild 2 later on. And I believe that I will make a video about that as well, so stay tuned for that too. So hereby I want to end the video, and thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some new information out of it. If not, well, that's fine as well. And I'll hope to see you next time in my next video. So bye bye.